Je viens vers vous aujourd'hui pour une vidéo un petit peu spéciale. Ce matin, avec ma femme, en buvant notre jamu quotidien. Le jamu, c'est une boisson indonésienne à base de curcuma, de gingembre. Je lisais le courrier d'Anthony Robbins, puisque c'est un de mes mentors principaux. J'ai été formé par Tony Robbins, suivi la plupart de ses formations, et je suis suivi tous les mois par un de ses coachs. Et j'ai reçu une de ses vidéos en anglais. Et dans cette vidéo, il a interviewé plusieurs lauréats du prix Nobel de médecine, des professeurs en épidémiologie. Il a interviewé des médecins, des chercheurs, et puis certaines des personnes les plus qualifiées au monde. Alors pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas Tony Robbins, c'est le coach des coachs, numéro 1 au monde. Il a aussi coaché des présidents aux États-Unis, Steve Jobs, entre autres. Et donc, dans cette vidéo, il dévoile ce que certains scientifiques ne dévoilent pas à la télévision. Il dévoile le mensonge de l'OMS sur les chiffres du coronavirus. Il dévoile aussi l'influence des lobbies pour tromper les certificats de décès du coronavirus, la manipulation mondiale des médias, mais aussi la problématique économique. J'avais fait une vidéo il y a quelque temps qui s'appelait la crise économique, l'enfumage médiatique, où je disais que ce qui se cachait derrière le corona, c'est une problématique économique, et de faire exploser cette bulle économique, puisque l'économie va tuer beaucoup plus. Et ce que aujourd'hui on voit déjà, que l'économie tue beaucoup plus que le Covid-19. En tout cas, c'est ce qui se passe ici en Indonésie. Les gens meurent, les gens se suicident, les gens meurent de faim dans plusieurs pays, ils n'ont plus rien. Et d'après certains scientifiques que vous allez voir, parce que je vais vous faire voir la vidéo, près de 265 millions de personnes pourraient mourir cette année dû à la famine, dû à la crise économique que nous vivons. Et donc, si vous voulez, on a décidé avec ma femme ce matin de traduire cette vidéo en français pour vous, parce que ça me paraissait tellement important. C'est sûr que quand c'est nous, les lanceurs d'alerte, qui disons les choses, même si on amène des preuves à l'appui, même si on montre nos preuves, eh ben, on reste que des citoyens parmi tant d'autres. Et quand ce sont des personnalités vraiment très importantes, comme Tony Robbins, chaque séminaire, c'est des 10 000, 20 000 personnes qui viennent le voir. Et puis tous ces chercheurs, ces professeurs en épidémiologie, et ces personnes les plus qualifiées au monde qu'il a interviewées, et que vous allez voir dans cette vidéo, ça change la donne. Alors dans ma dernière vidéo, c'était Pujadas, mais ça reste qu'un journaliste, alors que là, ce sont des hommes de science qui parlent, qui enfin ouvrent leur cœur au monde pour dévoiler cette vérité. Et vous avez dit dans une de mes vidéos que la lumière vaincra toujours sur l'ombre. Et petit à petit, on découvre et on voit ce que nous savons déjà, en tout cas pour ceux qui nous suivent, que effectivement, comme certains médecins le disent là, vous allez voir dans cette vidéo, ça reste qu'une grippe et qu'il n'y a pas autant de morts que ça, que ce qu'on voudrait nous faire croire. Donc là, vous allez avoir encore d'autres preuves pour vous. Mais cette vidéo ne s'adresse pas particulièrement à ceux qui sont convaincus, mais surtout pour conforter les personnes. Même, je peux comprendre certaines personnes qui m'agressent, qui m'envoient leur colère quand je parle de grippette et autres. Je peux comprendre les infirmiers, les infirmières, les médecins qui sont en colère après moi. Mais comme je l'ai dit, j'ai 2 personnes qui sont mortes ce mois-ci, pour ceux qui ne pensaient pas que je côtoyais la mort. Une personne qui est ma belle-sœur qui est morte du Covid, qui était docteur. Et dans ma famille, ma femme est une ancienne infirmière, 15 ans d'infirmière indépendante. Une de ses sœurs tient une clinique, et dans toute sa famille, ils sont docteurs, médecins et docteurs, ou aides-soignants. Donc je sais très bien aussi de quoi je parle par rapport au corps médical, et je respecte vraiment le corps médical, puisque même s'il y a cette manipulation autour, il n'empêche qu'il y a quand même des personnes qui viennent à l'hôpital et qui meurent, comme tout le temps, et que là ils sont submergés en fait de cas. Donc j'ai beaucoup de gratitude pour vous, si vous êtes infirmière, médecin et autres. Donc voilà, ce que je vais pas en dire plus pour l'instant. Je vous laisse regarder cette vidéo que l'on a traduit avec ma femme. J'espère qu'elle va vous permettre de mieux comprendre la situation, et surtout de ne pas rester dans la peur, puisque c'est le pire ennemi du mental. Il faut savoir que nous projetons dans notre vie, nos projections de peur, nous les mettons dans notre vie et elles créent notre existence et notre réalité. Donc je vous invite fortement à revenir sur votre vie heureuse, à revenir sur l'amour que vous avez de vos prochains, à revenir sur la relation avec votre compagne, avec vos amis, et puis plus à entrevoir comment vous allez pouvoir préparer votre futur, les 10-15 années qui vont venir, puisque nous allons passer une période assez délicate, plutôt que de rester enfermé, de rester concentré sur cette peur. Voilà, maintenant place à Tony Robbins et à tous ces chercheurs.
This may be one of the more important podcasts we've done. We all know we're living in extraordinarily intense times, the most intense most of us have experienced, at least in our adult lives. The challenge that we're experiencing today are as intense as we've ever seen. And the challenge is not only people are dying, but people are dying alone. Families can't visit with their family members because of understanding of the virus and our concerns about how it could spread. And we're living in a world where, quite frankly, we've made decisions that are also affecting not just the people that have already passed away, but also are going to affect people in the future. And also there are ways we've responded to this virus are having gigantic effects around the world. There are people all over the world that are having all kinds of challenges. 90% of brain surgeries haven't happened. I go through a whole list, but the feeding problem is one of the things I'm most concerned about. And people moving into poverty, which leads to deaths as well. The World Food Organization that the UN sponsors is saying maybe 265 million people might go hungry this year, almost double what normally happens. I wanted today to see if we could go on a kind of an exploration, if you will, a journey, not a trip. A trip's predictable. A journey, you might be surprised. And I've been on a journey because I care so much, and I know you do too. What does this mean? I have my own parents that are my mother and father-in-law, but they're in their 70s. I adore them and obviously extreme concern. So I started to immerse myself in every detail I could find on the science of this. And as I did, I came across a set of doctors, Nobel Prize winners, professors of epidemiology, some of the most qualified people in the world that were bringing up new facts that we have today that are very different than we made the decisions to shut down the world economy. And science is about, as new facts come forward, make new decisions, but sometimes the momentum of the story and the fear takes us over.
I think cases became a big issue for political reasons. Unfortunately, there's a huge amount of politics in all of this everywhere. You know, I think that unfortunately, science is difficult and you can't be partisan. I think that there was a dynamic here, and a dynamic which I found very anti-scientific, that led to decisions being made. The World Health Organization has a record of exaggerating, and I think they do this deliberately because they feel that the public won't pay attention. The total number of excess deaths reported by a website called Euromomo up till today is 160,000, maybe 170,000. Basically, that's about the same number of people who died in an excess way in the flu season of 2017-18. So basically, my guess is it's going to be maybe 1.5 times more excess deaths. Excess deaths are very important because if I'm very sick and then I'm labeled as a corona death, that's fine, except I won't die again next month. So basically, if you look at the total deaths, each person is only counted once. Whereas if you assume that everyone who dies of corona is extra, you're overcounting.
One of the challenges is that when people were looking at all the numbers that were coming out of the TV and they were doing the death rate, the case fatality rates, they were looking really, and this is I'll call it a rookie 101 mistake in epidemiology, and that you don't take the incident rate to figure out case fatality. You look at the prevalence. And it was stunning to me that all the media would put on these so-called experts and not raise this issue as to why the case fatality rate is just completely and absolutely overstated. Yes, we as citizens need to be responsible, and we need to be think about what we do and how it impacts those around us. But we shouldn't be so fearful that we decide to live in a bubble and hermetically seal our home in hopes that we never get any more diseases ever again. That's just nonsense.
I would submit that we're pivoting towards a time now where we have to ask ourselves our questions about who are we? What is our country? Are we losing personal liberties? If we're going to use contact tracing, what does that look like? Does that look like voluntary use of our phone? Or is it going to be involuntary? Are there going to be drones that swoop and watch us? We need to be very careful because in the end, when we're all said and done, we're looking at a respiratory virus, a single-stranded RNA virus. We've dealt with these before. And we know that 40 to 50% of people who get it may not even know they had it. We know another 40, 50% that get it will skate through it. We know that we're probably going to, at the end of the day, end up somewhere between 1 out of 1,000 patients dying from it.
It's interesting because when I was doing the research originally, I remember in late February, I was watching every day because I'm concerned that the death rate shot up 600% in one day. And I'm no epidemiologist, but that didn't make any sense. I'm talking about the world death rate. And then I dug in and finally found a little asterisk that said they changed the diagnostic procedure to no longer having to do a test. This is as late as February. And that's why the number of deaths shot through the roof, because anything they suspected as COVID, they listed as COVID. And then a few weeks ago, as I know you know, and the CDC made it formal in the US that you don't need to do a test, just if you suspect it. But there's actually, even as I understand from you, economic incentives by the hospitals, and some have been reclassified as COVID-19 deaths after the fact. And what is that financial incentive that you'll share with us?
We were basically being advised as physicians as to how to correctly complete a death certificate if COVID-19 was involved directly, or perhaps even presumptively or probably or peripherally involved. I was coached and massaged to utilize COVID-19 as a factor in the causation of death, even if I hadn't checked a COVID-19 test, even if I hadn't had an interest in one. And right around that time, Dr. Birx from Washington, D.C. was saying that nobody's going to die with COVID-19. If they have it, they're dying of it. And that was about as silly a thing as I had heard, because if a person gets hit by a bus and over the first 2 hours of examination in an emergency room, we learn that both of their lungs are collapsed, but also some baseline laboratory works addressed the fact that there was a low hemoglobin, but also a COVID-19 test happened to be positive in the PCR form of it. It would be absolutely ridiculous to put down COVID-19. On the one hand, part of my life is in the trenches practicing primary care, and then I come down to the Capitol where I see this partisan battle for power, and the best way to power it sometimes is to keep people frightened and then tell them who to blame. And after you've done enough of that, then sort of step up and raise your hand and say, but follow me, I'll take care of you. That's sort of a typical formula in the world of politics. And I think sometimes when these things happen, we don't recognize them at the time. It's when we looked at them through the retrospective scope. So I really think the crisis is pivoting.
If you look at the case fatality rate, the number of people who die who get it, it's over 3% when you get to 70 and over. That's a real risk.
Yes.
You look at 60 and under, it's less than 0.2%, or about less than twice the flu. But really what you need to do is protect people who are over the age of 70. Protect them from the risk they would have if they were exposed to the virus, because they're in that 3 to 5% death rate from getting the disease. On the other hand, most of the economy is driven by younger people, 95 to 97%, and they don't need to be protected. We made that mistake early on in looking at the data from China, and we will probably come back and regret it, but you could really open up the whole economy and not have much increase in the risk. The problem is, without the economy open, we're having more deaths of despair than we are deaths from the COVID virus.
Now what we're seeing is the collateral damage of COVID is way outweighing the disease itself. I can tell you about suicide cases personally, 23-year-old. I can tell you about anxiety, depression, alcoholism, all in my community that are skyrocketing now because of COVID. So I think the conversation has to switch now to how do we get the economy going again, because the collateral damage of the economy shutdown is becoming far worse than the virus itself.
we took a Hippocratic oath to do no harm and to tell the truth. And we looked at our numbers, and we had some of Stanford's preliminary data was out. We're looking at these different studies, and we're saying, well, the epidemiology of this disease is similar to flu. And have we ever shut down for flu before? We haven't. Does it make sense to shut down the economy, to have folks, not have work, not be able to support their families? The influenza is a very dangerous disease. I've had folks in their 30s and 40s die from influenza when I used to work in the ER, so was Dr. Erickson. Influenza is very serious, but we are familiar with influenza, so we say it's just the flu. So whenever you have something that you're unfamiliar with, you have lots of fear, and then trying to change people's narrative, their mindset with new data is very, very difficult because they have that old mindset.
I'm an infectious disease physician, and my sort of understanding of and I also do disease modeling, and my understanding is a disease like this sort of spreads quite widely, and so the numbers didn't quite add up, and so that's why we put that study together, and we sampled a group of well over 3,000 people. We used a test kit that by now has been vetted very carefully, and we know exactly what it tells us. One thing that I was hoping that our study would do is reduce that uncertainty. We were living with such an enormous amount of uncertainty, and I think that uncertainty was really getting people worked up. And like many here, I wish this were not a political issue. I wish this were, an area where we could come together and say, okay, we need to count all-cause deaths because the coding is not something that is reliable. We need to understand the issue about immunity. We need to understand the issue about the age distribution and the differences across ages. And these are some of the very key priorities that will help us really learn how to deal with that. We have to start wrapping our head around and making decisions in a more informed way.
The whole purpose of this is to honor those that have already put their lives on the line for us. So many doctors and nurses. I cried just thinking about it. So many police officers, first responders, people driving trucks so that we can still have our livelihood and our life and be with our families that get taken for granted. I know most of you don't take them for granted, but I hope in the midst of this, we don't lose track of all that they've done for us. Please remember, we human beings are pretty damn resilient. We've been around 200,000 years. We've experienced every kind of change in the environment, every kind of microbe, every kind of challenge you could imagine. Here we still stand, for better or worse, hopefully for better. And just remember, life, it's meant to be lived. And sometimes we can get overcome by the drama, by what we see and hear every moment, and by dealing with real challenges that we forget that this life is still meant to be lived. So whether it be winter, spring, summer, or fall, whether it be in tough times or good times, I hope you'll find gratitude and joy and love with the people that you love, and you'll continue to grow and continue to expand. So no matter what happens economically, what happens in the environment, there's a quality of life waiting to be lived and enjoyed by you by just finding things to be grateful for in the midst of challenge. That's, I think, how we stay resilient. That's how we keep moving the ball forward. That's how we serve our children, our family, and our friends. So live fully, live with passion. And hopefully, until we meet again, God bless.
Voilà, j'espère que ce film traduit vous aura permis de voir plus clair vis-à-vis de cette manipulation mondiale. Et on voit bien que ce n'est pas juste en France, cela se passe vraiment partout, c'est-à-dire qu'il y a une vraie manipulation mondiale des médias, une manipulation mondiale de l'OMS, puisque même aux États-Unis, en tout cas ici aussi en Indonésie, dans d'autres pays, c'est exactement la même chose. Donc moi, ce que je vous invite, c'est à avoir un regard particulier sur les choses, à prendre de la distance par rapport d'abord à cette pseudo-pandémie, par rapport à ce virus, mais plus être présent en vous-même, plus être présent avec ceux que vous aimez, et et de commencer à porter votre attention sur ce que vous allez faire demain, puisque énormément de choses vont changer. Le monde ne sera plus comme avant, quoi qu'il arrive. Je vous l'avais déjà dit aussi dans une vidéo, tout va changer. Et donc, le plus important, c'est de se préparer. Alors, comme je vous ai dit, cette vidéo ne fait pas partie des 4 que je vous avais promis, mais à partir de la semaine prochaine, je tiens ma promesse, je vais faire 4 vidéos sur comment se réinventer en 2020. Donc, je vous retrouve la semaine prochaine, s'il n'y a pas une autre information importante entre-temps, pour pouvoir parler avec vous de comment se réinventer en 2020, psychologiquement, relationnellement, professionnellement et spirituellement. Merci.